Chattanooga, you're listening to AM 1240, 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose is the show. Nooga Radio, that's the station. Noogaradio.com is the website. And 2, that's what hour of the show this is. And I had a great weekend. I had a great weekend watching golf. My main guy, Jordan Spieth, put it away at the Open Championship. Now, you could ask me, because this does come up. And before I jump into any of these things, how many main guys do I have in golf? Answer, all the ones I know. Okay? I root for a bunch of guys so I don't feel stupid when one of them doesn't win. Right? Now, I'm mostly in on the Jordan Spieth bandwagon because he went to the University of Texas, and that's the school that I rooted for growing up. So anything Texas to me is going to come out just a little bit ahead of everybody else. But I also like Bubba. I also like Ricky Fowler. So, I mean, I like a bunch of guys. And then when I watch, I feel less dumb when I'm watching golf because I don't play golf. So I don't know anything, right? Like I know technical stuff from hearing golf broadcasters talk about golf my whole life. But that's where my golf knowledge comes from watching people play, not from playing. So there's that. We can get that elephant out of the way. That doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. And it certainly doesn't mean that I have an opinion, don't have an opinion, because nothing, and I mean nothing, stops me from having an opinion. So Jordan Spieth played the 4th round of the Open Championship yesterday, and it might be the single greatest round that anybody's ever played at golf. And I'm going to say that, preface that with the fact that it is on round 4, right? And so not only did Jordan have to overcome some early mistakes, but he also had to overcome those mistakes with the Open Championship on the line. And he did in a spectacular way. I mean, the guy turned it on from after the 13th hole because everything leading up to the 13th hole was an absolute blistering mess. And I mean, it was hard to watch. And we've seen guys, young guys, especially this new generation of guys, they're trying to establish themselves, fall apart in golf tournaments. And I mean, this is one where you're just like, okay, it's been a while since Jordan Spieth has won, right? His first year he came out, I believe he won 3 out of the 4 majors, and was on a roll and kind of hasn't done very much in the way of finishing first place specifically since, right? So people are wondering, like, when is Jordan Spieth going to win again? And we know that golf is a messed up sport where golf, you can win a bunch of tournaments in a row and then not win. And it's not your fault, right? Golf is just a cruel game that way. It's cruel. But Jordan Spieth looked like all the wheels were coming off the cart. And then the man pulled himself together. And on the back nine, from 13 to 18, might be the single greatest 5-hole stretch in which Jordan Spieth, I believe, was par, birdie, birdie, eagle, birdie. And Matt Kuchar, who almost caught him and almost wound up winning that tournament. I mean, what else are you left doing, right? Like, Matt Kuchar is waiting for Jordan Spieth, and Jordan Spieth is imploding until very suddenly he is not. Jordan Spieth is suddenly hotter than the surface of the sun. Dude's going supernova, and it doesn't look like there's any stopping him. And it's crazy because all the stuff, not all the stuff, but a lot of the stuff that Jordan Spieth missed early, right? A lot of his early bogeys, of which he had 5, I believe, in the first 13 holes. A lot of that stuff, those were short putts that you would expect Jordan Spieth to make. He's got that one shot, I believe, on 13 that he has to make from the practice course because he hits the ball in the grass, decides to say, you know what, this is unplayable, takes the penalty. He has to hit it from the practice field. And I don't know if I've never seen that before in my life. In fact, I'm not going to say I don't know that I've ever seen that before in my life, because I do know that I've never seen that before in my whole life. Dude hit it from the practice field, somehow got it on the green, and came away with enough confidence for birdie, birdie, eagle, birdie. Yeah, that Jordan Spieth cold as hell. I don't know what to tell you there. I don't know what else to tell you there. Because that to me is one of my favorite clutch performances of all time. Of all time. He put it away. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and he was brilliant all tournament long. And I mean, I want to see more of that. We've had some good tournaments this year, though. He finished 12 under, 5 under on the day, which again, got to stress, man started with a bunch of bogeys. Right? I think he bogeyed 2 out of the first 3 holes. Like, it wasn't a great start even. Right? And it was crazy because it started to rain more the more the tournament went on round 4 on Sunday. And the more it rained, the better he got. It looked like some movie kind of thing. And he had that long putt that he just slammed it home. I think the long putt was on, gosh, I want to say 17, the one for eagle, where I see him hit it, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And it is right on the money all the way to the hole. I've never seen anything quite like that. A guy starting that poorly and ending like that with all the pressure on. Again, it's not the first round. It's not Thursday where, you know, you shoot a 62, but it's like, okay, like long term, that doesn't mean you win anything. Like, no, this is for all the marbles. This is for the whole tournament on the line. And the most brilliant performance that he could have put on in a 5-hole stretch, he put it on. Might be the most important 5-hole stretch of golf. Now, again, I am not golf guy, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm just saying, I watch majors all the time. That's all I watch when I watch golf, right? Like, no disrespect to like the Travelers Cup or anything, but that's all I watch when I watch golf is majors. And I've not seen that in a very, very long time. And yeah, Jordan Spieth becomes the youngest player, I believe, to win the youngest American player to win the Open Championship. That's what it was. The youngest American player to win the Open Championship. So that's pretty crazy to me. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. We're going to jump back to college football. And specifically, we're going to jump back to Hugh Freeze. Because there was something that I wanted to point out about Hugh Freeze's whole situation that I did not touch on in the entire thing, which is that Hugh Freeze is a very religious guy, right? Hugh Freeze is a guy, his Twitter profile and his social media are all Bible verses and evangelizing and things of that nature. And a lot of college football coaches in the South have that as their sort of thing, right? Mark Richt is a guy, very Christian guy. He's appeared in a few Christian movies, even some of the bigger name ones. And so, yeah, like there's no level of this that does not include a bit of irony, in which the thing that Hugh Freeze goes down for is not just an immoral action, but arguably one of the more culturally immoral actions that you should not cheat on your wife. And, you know, this is not a heat of the moment thing, right? If you are making multiple phone calls from your phone for an escort service, guess what? This is not a singular mistake, which is where I feel like Ross Bjork, the athletic director at Ole Miss, and a few other people are going wrong with their analysis of this whole thing. It was like, well, we all make our mistakes. Yeah, we've all made a mistake. Yeah, we've all made a mistake. If you keep making the mistake over and over and over again, like I said on Friday, that's you. That's what you are. Right? But I think we do find a certain level of hypocrisy to be humorous, right? Where it does feel like if you are someone who is hell-bent on being very Christian to the point where everything about your public persona has to be that, when you do something that is unchristian, you are going to get pummeled for it. You're going to get pummeled for it. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair because there are people that try to say, hey, I am not the beacon, right? It's possible to present yourself as a Christian and say, I am not the beacon. Don't look at me to figure out right from wrong. I'm trying to work this thing out too. Because that's what I would say about myself, right? I am a Christian. I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm not afraid of that in any way, right? And this is actually where I do have some level of pity for Hugh Freeze, right? Is that I don't do everything right. I make mistakes. I know I'm not perfect. And if I were to be caught doing something unchristian and the world were to laugh at me, I would want to have said beforehand, I'm not a beacon. Don't look at me for the shining example of Christianity, not because I'm afraid to be Christian or I'm ashamed to be Christian, but because I know I'm not worthy of that honor. I can't promise you that I've done everything the right way, that I don't make mistakes, that people won't look at me and go, really? You? I know. I absolutely know. And I think that was where Hugh Freeze messed up. I mean, that, and when he cheated on his wife, yeah, multiple times, like that's really where he messed up. But if you're going to present yourself as the beacon, which he did, then there is a certain level of responsibility that you are accepting with that. Because people are talking about, and because I hear a lot of non-Christian broadcasters, their perspectives are the loudest usually, where it's just like, yeah, but don't put your religion in my face and that. And I'm like, no, part of the religion is evangelizing. Part of Christianity is spreading the what? The gospel, the good news. It's a part of the religion is putting it in your face. You might not like it, but that's part of it. Where I get a little bit frustrated with Hugh Freeze and a lot of other college football coaches is it feels like the Christianity plays really well with families and plays really well with families of a lot of the guys you're trying to recruit. So you play it up even more than what a normal person would play that up as, right? Like, I'm not trying to recruit anybody to my side. I am not trying to make any friends. So, you know, I'm not going to play up how Christian I am, right? I don't have Bible verses plastered all over my Twitter and Facebook. Again, not because I don't love the Lord, but more so because I don't want people trying to find me and going, oh, here's him messing up, and using that to take away from what Christianity is all about. Or like, oh, it's not serious to him, so it just might not be all that serious. Like, I don't want people to think that way, right? One of my favorite rappers is Lupe Fiasco, even though he's got, really, if you look at his entire discography, like 2 really, really great rap albums, and then everything else is like, eh. But still, he's a Muslim, right? And he's also a rapper. And his lifestyle as such puts him in situations where it's very difficult for him to always sort of follow those tenets of Islam. It's hard. And what he has said on numerous occasions is, look, I am not the example and the ideal of what this is supposed to be. I'm trying like all the rest of you, right? That to me is the best that I can say. But when you go out, as Hugh Freeze was doing, and being Christian is not just what you are, but it is now part of your brand, people are going to look for you to slip up. And when you slip up, they're going to find it hilarious. And on a certain level, I can't even blame them. Hypocrisy is funny, okay? When you hear politicians say stuff and then the opposite thing happens, you just have to look at it and go, oh, that's funny. The Republicans go on forever and ever and ever. We've got to repeal and replace Obamacare. We've got to repeal and replace Obamacare. And then they get there and it's like, okay, repeal and replace it. And then they ain't got no plan. That's funny. Why? There's a certain level of hypocrisy in not having a replacement plan ready to go. right? Like that's why that's humorous. And where the humor comes into play with this is that Hugh Freeze built himself up as Christianity is not just what I do, it's part of my branding. Well, then you better be a Christian then, man. Like, really do it. Because there are lots of guys that have managed to do it. A lot of them. But if you don't like Christianity being pushed in your face, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. That's part of what it is. Like, if you're just one of those people, don't put it in my face. It's going to be there. I hate to break the bad news to you, but that's kind of part of what gets all included in religion is spreading it. It's part of the point. And by the way, a lot of times people will say, Christians are they're pushing their religion in my face. They're pushing it in my face. And then come to find out, it's like, what are you pushing it in your face? Like, dude, I just invited you to church. Like, if you invite somebody to church, it's not pushing it in their face. Like, imagine if you invited someone to dinner and they were just like, stop pushing your dinner in my face. Like, no, I just want you to come over and see my wife and kids, man. And maybe enjoy some spaghetti. Why are you doing this? Why are you reacting like that? That's the reaction that most people have. So no, Hugh Freeze wasn't pushing religion in everybody's face, but he did make it a huge part of his branding. And if you're going to make it a huge part of your branding, because a brand is nothing but a summary of what you are, then it's got to actually be what you are. And it wasn't what he was, right? He was talking the talk. He wasn't walking the walk, and people are going to pull you down for that. And I think rightfully so. I don't blame anybody involved in this at all except Hugh, because you had to know. You had to know. And also, really, dude, your work phone, I'm sorry. I am not a cheater. I have no experience with the cheating life. But even I know you got to go to the gas station and get the shady burner phone. What are you doing? Why? Your work phone? You are a government employee, technically. All of that stuff could be requisitioned. And you can't really use your personal phone either, because then, then the subpoena gets to be a thing. But here's the thing, like, the crappy cell phone would have worked just fine. Because it's not like he was having this ongoing affair with a person. He was calling an escort service. They don't care what number you call from. Right? They don't care. So you could have used the crappy gas station phone and then just thrown it away. Nope. I mean, dude, like, if you're gonna cheat, like, don't do it like that. Like, don't go around getting caught too on top of the thing you're doing. Like, that's just crazy to me. That's the craziest part of this whole story, is that the man used his phone from work and, like, I didn't think of any of the implications of doing it. Because it's obvious why you'd use the phone from work. You'd use the phone from work to keep it away from your wife. But boy, I don't think he saw that coming. And Houston Nutt is a happy man right now. I know he says he's not happy. His lawyer, or who was it that came out and spoke for him, that said, he wasn't trying to celebrate Hugh Freeze losing his job. But I was like, why not? Hugh Freeze is the guy that replaced you. And you were already not hireable if you were Houston Nutt. Like, Houston wasn't exactly, like, in the good graces of the college football world going on and finding a new job or anything. He was already not hireable. But boy, did Ole Miss decide to drag his name right on through the dirt. I can't imagine that payback doesn't taste at least a little bit sweet. Right? Maybe not honey, but, a relatively sugared sweet tea, possibly. I can't imagine it's not a little bit sweet. But that's just me. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. am Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com, the places you can check us out. Yeah, I got another LeVar Ball story. I mean, I don't know. There's something about the guy. He certainly knows how to draw the news to himself. Last time I defended him. This time, I won't.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
New details in the case of Eric Birchfield, who was shot in the back at a gas station on Hickson Pike. Emily Leanne Brooks was arrested in connection with his killing. When the police questioned the mother of the victim, she said Ember killed him. Ember is the nickname for Emily Leanne Brooks, the woman arrested. A search of the victim's cell phone also showed an apparent relationship between the two. Man wanted in a murder case out of Ohio was arrested in a basement in Ottawa, Tennessee. Sheriff's deputies on Sunday afternoon got word that Frank Charles Mosier was in a basement of a home on Ottawa-Georgetown Road. They went to the scene and attempted to arrest him, but he resisted. They eventually got him into custody and found methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia, according to the sheriff's deputies. At Big Saudi Gulf, the search is on for some missing hikers. 2 men and a woman went on an excursion through the woods on Sunday, but didn't return home. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies to continue through your nighttime. Warm, muggy again overnight. Lows into the lower 70s. For Tuesday as well as the midweek, partly cloudy, hot and humid days. Typical summertime weather with only isolated afternoon showers and storms, and highs 90 to 92. Get an extra 5% off purchases every day at Lowe's on items big or small when you use your Lowe's Advantage card. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's, subject to credit approval, and can't be combined with other credit offers. And I'm Smorgene Twelve, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation, and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You know, this is, I came across a story that shows the side of LeVar Ball that everybody was worried about when Lonzo went to the Lakers. Now, I'm not saying that the Lakers still need to be worried, because they don't, because Lonzo's a grown man and his dad's his dad. So, I mean, he has no say in the organization whatsoever. But I'm saying there's a side to LeVar that's not just the goofy, funny dad, right? And part of us seeing this side is in large part because LeVar so much insists on being in the limelight that we're going to see all sides of you. This is how it works with public figures, right? First we like you, and then we get to see more sides of you, and then we have a more realistic view of you until we start to focus on the negative, and then we have the opposite reaction to you, right? It's not quite fair, but this is the way that it works. And LeVar Ball's a guy that has drawn a lot of scrutiny and ire to himself already without any help, right? Like it's not one of those things where people are trying to catch him in a scandal. He's already done and said things that everyone hates, essentially. He's already done it, right? But was more innocent, whether you talk about that useless argument that he got into with Stephen A on First Take over at the 4-letter, or whether it's saying that he could beat Michael Jordan, which Michael Jordan never dignified with the response, which I totally love, or any of the stuff that he has said, right? That Lonzo is better than Steph Curry, all of that stuff, right? Just spewing from his face, whatever. And almost never is the man correct, right? The only correct thing that he said so far is that his son was going to be drafted by the Lakers, which he was. Congratulations. Pretty much nothing else LeVar Ball has said has been any kind of correct, from the value of his shoes to anything else, right? And to be clear, LeVar is kind of out there already. Just a fringe guy. He's a sports dad, okay? He's a sports dad that somehow managed to be in front of cameras very often, and behaved as you would imagine sports dads behave when they get in front of cameras. And you know sports dads, because not all dads who have children in sports are sports dads. Sports dads, I am specifically talking about the guy that's yelling at his child, yelling at the coach, yelling at the umpire, yelling at other parents, and can't shut up. That guy needs to go away. And LeVar Ball is what happens if, instead of going away, that guy got a TV show. That is LeVar Ball. So his son's AAU team, LaMelo Ball, his youngest son, his son's AAU team was playing in a playoff game. And it was a pretty competitive game. I believe his team was losing, but it's hard to tell from the video. But the game was close, and it was a competitive game. Both teams were going back and forth on each other until LeVar Ball started to disagree with the referee, began swearing, collected a technical, and then did the classy thing, which is tell all of his players, we're going home. Literally took the ball and went home. Took the ball and went home. All the young players, all the kids, nope, we're done. We're not dealing with any of this bull blank. We're done. And walked off the court, forfeited a playoff game. Now, to me, there are so many problems with this. It's hard to know actually where to start, but we can start with the fact that, man, you are coaching children. Can you ease up on the language a little bit, right? This is a guy that mocked Joel Embiid for swearing, and Joel Embiid got fined for swearing because he said, oh, well, the reason why you swear is because you don't have enough words in your vocabulary. And yet you're coaching children, and he's going blank this and blank that. And it's like, stop, right? I know those kids know those words, but those kids need to know how to communicate. And one way you don't communicate is with swear words. Every other word you can, but you shouldn't. And an adult, the adult in the room, if he's your coach, he's certainly the adult, has got to be the one to show you that, right? And I've had coaches in high school swear, and I say high school like I did not play any sports in high school, but I did try out for every team. I've had coaches swear. But you know what happened? It was every once in a while. It was an occasional exclamation point to what the coach was trying to say. It wasn't blank this, blank that, blank, blank, blank. Like, stop it. Really, pump the brakes on all the swearing. You've got to. You're an example. That's one. Two, and this is people's problem with AAU, is that there's a certain level of entitlement that people believe comes from AAU basketball. And I don't agree with that necessarily, though I have not followed enough AAU basketball to really, really speak on the subject. But I will say this, when you have coaches who are temperamental and just sort of do what they want, it trickles down to players, right? It does. And LeVar is here. He's coaching these kids, and the game's not going our way. It doesn't feel like the refs are on our side, so we're just going to quit and go home. We're not going to try and grind it out. We're not going to try and see if we can win. I don't like that mentality. I don't like that mentality. And I think a lot of AAU basketball is capable I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying it's capable of fostering all kinds of mentalities that work in the bubble of AAU basketball and certainly do not work in the way that real life actually works, which is to say, I'm going to leave this team and join another team because there are sponsors over there and they can promise me this, that, and the other thing. It's like, yeah, at this level, they can. But every level you go up, if you're not the best player, you have less options, right? You should just learn to play the game. I think at that age, just learn to play the game, learn to play it the right way, learn to try and overcome some level of adversity. I'm not even talking about the moral aspect of this thing with LeVar. I'm just saying quitting in a competition, in a game, because you felt it's not going my way. Like, that's just not how life works. Sorry to break the news to you. I've had shows, and I'm sure you've heard some of them, where things are just going terribly. Like, my notes just stink. I don't have enough information. I try and get something. Maybe it's a slow news day and I've got 2 really good stories. And we just have a bad show. I try my absolute best. But look, man, I got 2 jobs. I try my absolute, this is not my only job. I try my absolute best to get you a show that is as high a level of quality as I can make it for you. Because I'm not trying to waste anybody else's time when they tune in on the radio. I'm not trying to waste your time. I don't want to. I don't believe in that. But if I were having a bad show, what if I just quit? Right? Like, what if I just packed up my computer, put away my notes, and walked out the door? And what does that do? You can't quit. Every time something's going terribly, you can't quit. You might want to, but you can't. And he just walked off with the kids and said, nope, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Also, LeVar, buy some shoes. This is a lesser gripe. This is a smaller gripe. But LeVar, buy some shoes. The man is in flip-flops everywhere he goes. Everywhere. He's forever in flip-flops. He's in that T-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops everywhere. And not just flip-flops, man. Looking like a true tourist. Flip-flops in the socks. Right? Why? Stop it. Stop it. You're grown. You're an adult. Wear shoes. We all have to wear shoes. You wear shoes too. You also wear shoes. You're not old. You're not an old dad. Wear shoes. I mean, that's got nothing to do with anything. It just bothered me when I saw it. Wear some shoes, man. And stop swearing at your kids. It's weird. Nobody does that. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So I will end on the report that I began the show with, which is that Les Miles is the guy that Ole Miss is currently looking at to replace Hugh Freeze, right? Les Miles showed interest in the job, and there was a report, albeit that I have not managed to substantiate it, because I got it just before I went on the air. So I'm not saying that this is the case, but there is a report that Ole Miss brought Les Miles to the campus to talk to him. Now, to me, to hire Les Miles here after letting go Hugh Freeze would be incredibly short-sighted, in large part because Hugh Freeze, for all of his foibles, pretty good football coach. I think overpaid on some level, but then again, the price of winning, if you pay for a guy to help you win and he helps you win, then you kind of just got to fork over the money. That's just how free markets work. Okay? If that's what he's worth, that's what you pay him. And he might not be worth that to somebody else, but if you're Ole Miss and don't think you can get a better coach, he might be worth that to you. And that means a lot. People talk about, well, this guy is overpaid and that guy's overpaid. No. You pay what a guy is worth to you. That's the reason why Mike Conley has got a $110 million contract in the NBA, because the Memphis Grizzlies paid too much money for Mike Conley, but they paid too much money overall. They did not pay too much money for them, because that's the only way they were going to keep Mike Conley. is to pay him all the money that they could pay him. That's it. That's it. That's the only way they were going to keep Buddy. You pay what the guy's worth to you, which Ole Miss was doing with Hugh Freeze. And then Hugh Freeze went ahead and made life difficult, and they still tried to keep him. And then he went ahead and made life even more difficult, and they had to let him go. But to bring in Les Miles, that's short-sighted. Why? Because we know Les Miles struggles on offense. And at no point near the end of Les Miles at LSU was Les Miles going to be able to fix his offensive problems. He talked about it. He brought in guys, but he never let go enough to let the offense at LSU blossom. And I don't think he's going to let go enough to let the offense at Ole Miss blossom. Les Miles is a very good defensive coach. And from what I understand, a good recruiter. But he's not capable, it seems like, of either bringing in the offensive talent to play the game well, or worse still, doesn't seem capable of letting go of the offense and letting someone open it up more. It seemed like whenever LSU would play, Les Miles had like 3 plays that he liked to run for LSU, and if it wasn't one of those 3 plays, they weren't running it. It was ultra conservative on offense to a dizzying, annoying degree. And you can't do that in the SEC West. Also known as where the best quarterbacks in the league are. Right? Like, people can score, okay? And I don't care how good your defense is in the SEC West. People put up points in that division. They do. We're talking about Nick Fitzgerald, Shea Patterson, Austin Allen, right? They're going to be able to put up points on you, man. SEC West is tough and competitive. Jalen Hurts. It's tough, and it's tough offensively. The quarterbacks that are out there now are scary and arguably scarier than the quarterbacks that were out there previously. I would take Les Miles in the SEC East. Like if an SEC East job opened up and Les Miles wanted it, I would say you could suffocate teams to death on defense in the East and try and see if you could win the East that way, right? Because that's pretty much how Jim McElwain had to do it. Didn't have a quarterback for the longest time. We'll see if Malik Zaire can help him out. But previously to that, there was no quarterback situation that was consistent or any good going on in Florida. You can choke people out and try and win the division in the East. I don't think you can do it in the West. I think the offenses are better and much more talented in the West, and I don't think that you can get away with doing it in the West, which is why Les Miles was not working out in the West, which is why Les Miles got fired from the West, which is why it would be a bad idea to rehire Les Miles to the West. It would be a bad idea. This is a panic move by Ole Miss. This is a school that was getting to a place where they could win. This was a school that was getting to a place where they looked good, where they were getting a little bit more attention, where people were paying attention to them on SEC media days, where you want to talk about at the beginning of the season, you go down Alabama's schedule and try and figure out where their stumbling blocks could be. You had to talk about Ole Miss because Ole Miss managed to be that for 2 years. Right? There have not been a whole lot of Alabama squads that have lost over the last 3 years. And Ole Miss is 2 of those losses. Ole Miss does not want to go back to the times where they were irrelevant. They don't want to go back to the times where they don't matter. Nobody likes to go backwards in cars. No one goes backwards in houses. No one goes backwards in clothes. When people start dressing up, you notice that they don't start dressing down. Great example. Look at the way, and you can look this up online. Look at the way that Daniel Craig used to dress before he played James Bond, and look at the way that he dresses now, right? Daniel Craig dresses like GQ guy now. Before he played Bond, he dressed like the rest of us. T-shirts, baggy jeans. Daniel Craig dressed like the rest of us. Now he dresses like a GQ model. Why? Because he started dressing up. And once you dress up, you don't dress down. Even when you dress comfortably, even when you dress casually, you still dress with a level of dignity that you didn't dress the way before. When you get a better computer, you don't want to go back to your slower computer. When you get a nice car or a bigger house, you don't go backwards. Ole Miss doesn't want to go backwards. They're terrified of going backwards, as all teams are. Right? And there are some schools that'll never know this, right? Like, even when Tennessee is bad, Tennessee doesn't ever feel like they were the worst school in the SEC. Ole Miss, and Ole Miss fans, be honest. There were some years you were the worst team in the SEC, and you knew it. And you knew it. That's not to make a mockery of them. That's not to make fun of anything. That is just to say, that was a place where you were at. You're not there now, and your school does not want to go back. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them, right? The money's better when people show up to the games and think that you can win. The games are more fun when you think that you can win. Hugh Freeze has gotten that school to the point where they are upgrading their facilities. They're building bigger and better equipment rooms and locker rooms and all of that stuff. That's where he's gotten them. Why? Why would you want to go back? They don't want to go back. You and I wouldn't want to either. But I think that Les Miles is that step back. It's a small step back, right? It feels like if we take this small step back, we won't fall all the way back down the hill. But I think you might fall all the way back down the hill, because I have some serious questions about Les Miles, who's a guy that I like. I think he's a cool coach. He's an interesting interview. I've heard a lot of his interviews. Before I started really watching SEC football when I moved out here, Les Miles is a guy that he did a lot of recruiting in Texas. So when I was out there, I was very aware of Les Miles and his personality. He's got a very good personality. But give the man some time. Give him some time to learn from his own mistakes. What did I do wrong when I was coaching? Where can I improve? Les Miles is not going to have any time to learn that stuff, right? Like we saw it in the NFL too. Chip Kelly gets fired from the Eagles, immediately hired by the 49ers. And it's like all the stuff that he did in Philadelphia, he did in San Francisco. He didn't learn what went wrong for him in the NFL. The time off, that helps you clear your head and learn stuff. Les Miles isn't going to learn a thing. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Thank you for listening today. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you all in 24 hours. Special thanks to Chattanooga Eagles of the GDFL, and congratulations on winning Saturday night and becoming first in your division.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 12.